CL Kid back in the mix, baby. 2 weeks in a row. How you feeling, my guy?
Pretty good. I mean, my team's making a lot of moves, so got a lot of reactions, I guess.
Yeah, your team is making a lot of moves, and it's kind of disappointing and sad for me because we have rival teams, and my team is literally just sleeping in and day out. I feel like my team's bums, and your team is just destined for greatness. And shout out to Brad Stevens because he knows what he's doing, baby. He knows.
Every time I see a Miami alert, it's talking about Lionel Messi. I'm like,
right? Like, come on, man. Like, come on, dude. Or if it's just some weird stuff that's going on, some only in date news that comes down, some typical Miami Beach controversy going down and stuff. Nothing to do with Miami Heat or the Miami Dolphins or Miami Marlins. But it is what it is.
Sorry, sir.
Guys, welcome into another episode of the G Perspective. Appreciate you guys for viewing the show, listening to us, coming on and giving us your time. Before we get into it, please like, subscribe, share with your family and friends or whoever you want to share it with. Really appreciate the support. We're going to go into a lot of NBA talk this episode. We got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the NBA Finals. We got a bunch of trades that have gone down in the previous week today, and we'll probably go on tonight during the episode, after the episode, and going into the NBA draft. So first off, want to start off with what we already started talking about, the Boston Celtics. They've made 2 trades today, early this morning, and then one a little while ago. The one that early this morning that came up was the one of Jrue Holiday getting sent to the Portland Trail Blazers for offering Simons. Please correct me on how I say that because I do not know how to say his first name.
Anthony.
Anthony, thank you. Anthony Simmons. Okay, thank you. And 2 Simons. 2 second-round draft picks for Jrue Holiday. We'll go if you want. Actually, I'll mention the second trade so we could talk about it. Just the second trade just happened a while ago. I'll say like an hour ago. Was Kristaps Porzingis getting traded to the Atlanta Hawks and a second-round pick for George Niang and another second-round pick. So it was a swap essentially. So with those 2 trades that went on today, you are a Boston Celtics guy. This is your team. How do you feel about this trade, and what do you think that it would do for you guys?
I love the trades, mainly because we're already handicapped into having to do the trades. If I had just, the money aside, you got new ownership, they're going to move these guys. They don't want to be in the luxury tax. They're still in the luxury tax, right? So if you're not aware, NBA people, there's tiers to, how much money you're going to pay, in terms of not just your salaries, but taking additional hits financially. Can't just stack up with the most expensive players, right? So you have your limit of how much money the NBA is going to allow you to spend before you get taxed. Once you hit that tax number, after that, there's 2 aprons where it's like, all right, you're getting set luxury tax, and then there's you went so far over, there's an apron, and then there's you went so far over as a second apron, right? So the Celtics were way in the red. They're at the highest level. This gets them out of the second apron. So we knew already that they were going to get rid of Porzingis. We knew Jrue Holiday was going to be gone. I don't know if you saw Paul Pierce had mentioned he didn't like the Jrue Holiday trade, mainly because of just what you're losing defensively and leadership-wise. But that's not really a question of this. That had to go, had to end. So considering the desperate spot that the league knew that the Celtics were in, I loved the trade. In terms of the Jrue Holiday trade, I thought we fleeced them to be able to not only give up an older player who just came off an injury, kind of banged up here, coupled with not as great playing. And I wasn't really worried about that because I don't need his stats. I just want him to play defense and be a veteran anyway. But we have other guys that can bring that to the table. And now we have a younger player who can kind of fill, not Tatum, but what Tatum does in terms of scoring. Anthony Simons, actually from here, Orlando, not a great defensive player. He's kind of lazy on defense. We'll see if the culture of the Celtics will help that. But I love the move. He was kind of considered one of the better available players because because nobody thought Desmond Bain was really pursuable at the time. And obviously there's KD. But aside from them, it was kind of Anthony Simons, and nobody was talking about him. So for the Celtics to get that huge call to Brad Stevens and bring in the 2 picks, which one of which we did the swap, like you just mentioned, for Porzingis. Porzingis being the other guy gone. Hate to lose him, but I knew he was gone. This was like guaranteed. Every Celtics fan knew those 2 guys would be gone. Hauser kind of being another one that might be on the block. A lot of Jaylen Brown rumors. I'm hoping that this year off with Tatum being injured, we use Simons. We get 1 year to see how he fits. If he fits well, we resign him. We'd have the first rights to do so. And if he doesn't, then we let him go, and the money's gone, and we're still in a good spot. So I love the position that the Celtics have put themselves in, because 2 days ago we were in a position to just be strapped for cash and desperate for whatever we can get. And now we've added, I don't know. Niang is a solid player. Like, he's not amazing, but I would definitely take him. I would definitely take the Anthony Simons project. I love him. I'm going to give an A. Definitely an A to the Jrue Holiday trade. I don't know what Portland's thinking there. I know they want to go more defense, but I think that's a little too old. But either way, and the Porzingis trade, I'm okay with. Like I said, when everyone knows you have to trade, you don't have much room for negotiation. So I guess it is what it is. I'll let that be. I don't know what was available at this point, so I'm good with it.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a downgrade in the defensive side of the ball, right? With Jrue Holiday being shipped off, going off to Portland, I really feel like it downgrades your guys' defense. I'm not gonna say by a whole lot, because it's still together as a unit. You guys are a great defensive unit. Other people will pick up the slack. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and other boys off the bench for sure. Obviously, you're not gonna have Tatum for this year, but even when he comes back, there'll still be a well-oiled machine on defense. Again, it still knocks them down a notch, but it's not going to really make that much of a difference, in especially in the East, right? KP being gone too, I think that's another defensive knock, because you bring in George Niang. You don't really think that he's going to play defense like that. He's more of an offensive player or role player that can do what he needs to do out there on the floor. He can facilitate a little bit. He can shoot the three a little bit. He can space out the floor, but he's not that defensive monster. Or KP, he can go and grab so many rebounds, be a defensive threat inside the paint, or trying to block shots. Yeah, he wasn't doing it all the time, but still his presence shown that players that will try to go in and try to make a layup or dunk, they'll hesitate because they see KP inside the paint. With George Niang, it's not going to really be like that. So I think when it comes to the defense side of it, yes, you guys have downgraded, but it's not going to really affect you like that. Now, on the offense side of the ball, when it comes to Simons, I think he's great for you guys. He's going to fit in well in that 3-point shot that you guys love to take. Instead of taking 45 a game, most likely now you guys are going to be taking 50 to 55 a game with him out there on the floor. But it's going to be a good replacement for Tatum this season in trying to put up at least, 15 to 20 points a game, alongside, assuming that Jaylen Brown stays. If he does stay, alongside him, we're trying to put up 20 to 25 points. And Derek White as well, that he's been showing that he can be a great offensive arsenal in the last 3 years. He's been showing that he can prove himself on the offensive side of the ball. So he is another one that could put up 15, 20, or even 25 points a game. So I think on the offensive side of it, I think it is an upgrade from Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday was only putting up maybe 10 points a game on some great nights, 15. But with Simons, you could get 15 to 20. So I think it will be good on that side. The pick swap, it really doesn't do much. You still have some 3 second-round picks in this year's draft. So I think that's pretty good for you guys. But if I would have to give it a grade, I would say maybe a B plus. And with just the Boston Celtics and how they love to play basketball and how they love to play defense and offense, I don't really think it's going to change so much dramatically. I think you guys are still going to be in contention to try to make it to the NBA Finals and all that.
Yeah, I hear you. Definitely. Basketball wise, losing Jrue Holiday is always going to be a step back. He is our veteran leader. He calms us down when we are shooting too many threes. He gets to the basket. He passes well. He defends the best perimeter player. I love everything about him, but knowing that we had to go into this getting rid of him, there was a 1% chance we were keeping him. To be able to get what we got, I was happy for that.
Yeah. So with Jrue Holiday being shipped out there's rumors that have already been been put on the news or even on X or Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, that he's pissed off that he's getting shipped out there.
I mean, he knew he was getting traded. He probably did not know he was going to go to Portland. You
Portland,
know,
man. Like
like
if you're
that, that's
into
rough.
like the big city stuff and you're going to Portland, that's gonna be
Yeah,
crazy. Like
it's
quiet
rough.
over there. It's gonna
It's
be
a chill vibe.
yeah, super crazy scenery change.
And you ain't
But
winning.
yeah, facts. Um, for the Portland side of it, do you think they keep Jrue Holiday and try to build around him, even though he's I'm not gonna say old, but he is on the older side of his career? Or do you think they release him and try to ship him off somewhere else?
So I don't think they can release him because he has the rights to his extension to pick up the player option. So that amount of money, I doubt he turns it down just to go play somewhere else. I mean, unless he just, he is a veteran kind of guy. He is a chill person. If he turns it down and just takes less money to play elsewhere because he'd rather win or be where he wants to be, I wouldn't knock it. I think it'd be the mature move.
Mhm.
But most guys don't turn down the amount of money he just signed for because he's not getting that money anywhere else. So it would be a significant cut. And then if he's doing that, he's obviously doing that to join a contender. And most contenders are probably floating in that near first apron I was referring to, meaning you only have, 12 mil or whatever, an extension in cap space for signing a veteran. I don't know, where he would go. I think someone like Denver would be a good fit, but I just don't think that's an option because of how much money he would have to turn down. So I think Portland wanted to go all defense. They complained about Simons not playing defense. They have a couple young guys there that can make them probably one of the better perimeter teams. I think they're trying to copy the Orlando mold and get a couple guys on the perimeter that can play defense. He is older, so you can't really build around him, but you can establish over the next year or two that he'll be there, that this is the direction the team wants to go. And then hopefully you get the right draft pick or you sign one free agent and make a run. It's just, I don't think Portland has ever signed that one free agent in my lifetime. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. They would have to draft. So I get that point of it. I still think it was a bad move for them. I think they went a little too old, but hey, it is what it is, and this is where they are now. So I think they're just going to roll the dice and try to get some defense going.
Yeah, if I would have to put some money on it, what Drew Holiday's next move would be, I think that he will try to get up out of there and try to go somewhere where him and his family want to be at. Because if he's pissed off that he's going over there, yeah, you're still playing ball, you're still getting paid a lot of money. But if you want to choose where you want to go and try to go to a contender, because the Trailblazers are not going to be contenders for a long time. Like, let's be serious.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're trying to go to a contender, you're gonna have to lose out on the money, but you can end up choosing where you want to go, and you could be happier where you're gonna end up being, or trying to win, or trying to just get a little bit of money. So
Yeah,
I
because
feel like
he's still owed. He's still owed like 72 million from the deal, and
it's
that's
crazy.
at 32, 33. I believe it's 33 million a year. Obviously, that goes above. It's like 66, but there is a difference with other variables. But to turn down 72 over 2 years, where you're probably going to get less than 20 in that same span, I don't know. I mean, he's a mature guy. I could see it, but it's tough.
Yeah, gotta thug it out. If not, if not, you ain't
Yeah.
gonna get paid at least 20% of that money.
Stuck in Oregon like
Yeah,
Dame was.
yeah, crazy. All right, so the next trade that I wanted to talk about was the New Orleans Pelicans and the Washington Wizards. They traded today. The Wizards are getting C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, and a future second round pick. So it's not this draft. And the Pelicans will get Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, and the number 40th pick. With this trade going on right now, just going off the trade, right? I want to hear your thoughts on, do you think it's a good trade for either side or for both sides? And who do you think exactly won this trade?
I think it's kind of a sideways move for both teams. I don't think this was like a, explode off the chart kind of thing. However, I do think Jordan Poole with the Pelicans a little more explosive than CJ McCollum. I know McCollum's probably the overall better veteran player, makes better decisions, stuff like that, but there's the health side of that. Having Jordan Poole, a younger guy that can kind of run and gun with them, they may want to switch their pace up, see what they can get out of that. This is a team that's always injured, so maybe they're just trying to get a little younger, a little faster. So I can understand that. In that sense, I would say they want to trade. Washington, they're going to lean on McCollum and Chris Middleton. That's going to be their thing. So they're in a situation where they're sitting on a lot of dead cap money where they got these older guys that's not going to lead them anywhere, but they don't have a big enough rest of the roster to take them even to, the first round where they contend and go 6 games or anything like that. They'll probably miss the playoffs again anyway. I think the craziest thing about it is that freaking Kenny Olynyk is still in the NBA, right?
Right.
Like, what the heck, But so I guess in the sense, I think it was like a kind of a sideways move for both teams, but I do like the potential it could do for the Pelicans because they don't have a terrible roster.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel like the Pelicans really won this trade, right? There has been sightings of Jordan Poole that can be an All Star, right? And when he got traded to the Washington Wizards, I really thought that he was going to be a 25 point per game player, but you could tell that he was still too immature to get to that point. And maybe he's not mature enough now, but I see him running with DeJounte Murray, right? DeJounte Murray is going to be taking a lot of the load off of Jordan Poole that he had to create for others and try to bring down the ball and do what he needed to do with the ball in his hand, right? Not saying Jordan Poole won't do that because he does love bringing the ball down the court and handling the ball and whatever, but he does know how to play like a two guard and move off the ball and try to get open. He did that with Steph Curry. He did that with Klay Thompson back in the Golden State Warriors days. So I think that would be a good run for him, those two in that backcourt. And then Sadiq Bey, he's a great rebounder. He can play defense. He could give a little edge to that New Orleans Pelicans. Maybe try to teach something to Zion on being maybe a little bit more gritty out there on the floor. But the other thing that I like too is the number 40th pick in this year's draft. That could just up their stock. That we're trying to get a young, fast, talented player to go out there and run with these boys and do something for the New Orleans Pelicans in the Western Conference. But when it comes to the Washington Wizards, I do like CJ McCollum. I think he's a great player, but I think he's already too old. And you're pairing him up with another dinosaur in Chris Middleton, where he just picked up his option now, so he's going to get paid. So they're not going to really have any wiggle room to bring anybody in. So you're going to have two dinosaurs playing with each other, trying to score as day in and day out, and they can, but can they do it for an 82-game season and try to get them into the play-in, try to get them into the playoffs? I don't really think so. I think it's more of just like, you know what? We're going to bring someone else to try to help out Chris Middleton, but it's only going to get us so far.
Yeah, exactly. The last time I seen a team bring in two veteran players like that, is Sacramento when they had Ron Artest and Bonzi Wells. And that was fun because they had enough of the rest of the roster to get to the first round, even, compete with Spurs, whatever, make it interesting. But that's like, those guys are gritty bangers in the paint. They're not just, they're not playing on the perimeter at a slow pace like McCollum and Middleton are. It's just going to be another. I'm just get the same 4 teams in the play-in every freaking year in the East. It's probably going to be the same 4 teams again, unless Charlotte can get their act together or something. But Washington is just so oddly run. I don't know what they're trying to do. You're not going to sell tickets with these guys because only true hoopers appreciate them, and we're not going to Wizards games. So
No, never.
no. Yeah. So I don't want to waste my $6.
No, yeah. So I guess the Wizards are just trying to make a little bit of noise, trying to do something for their fans, which I can appreciate because as a Miami Heat fan, we're not getting anything done right now with any trades or any signings. So it's pretty disappointing. So just to see that your team is actually doing some moves to try to be better. Not gonna say the Wizards are gonna do anything. I don't really believe they are. CL doesn't believe they are, but at least they're trying. So
Yeah, I
kudos to
can
them.
always respect that.
Yeah, kudos to them. Kudos to them. So last week we talked about Kevin Durant, where we thought he was gonna go, and buddy finally got traded. Kevin Durant will be traded to the Houston Rockets, and the Houston Rockets gave up Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the 2025 number 10 pick in this year's draft, which is tomorrow, and 5 second-round picks. Wow. Just based off of that, I know you have chosen that KD was going to go to the Rockets, and you were right, sir. for this trade and the trade package of what the Suns got in return for KD. Was it well worth it for the Phoenix Suns to trade away Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets?
I mean, I think if you're Phoenix, yeah. Um, I'm not saying they've dominated the trade. I know that you always see that meme out there that the entire roster they have is only shooting guards now. I don't think that's necessarily true. Jalen Green can play small forward, so can Grayson Allen. But either way, I just think for Houston to give up on Jalen Green at the pace they did, just because the one playoff series that wasn't great, and he admitted to it, he owned it. He actually seemed like he was going to step in the right direction and start being motivated by it. So I would have rather them run it back, keep the assets, and just keep going because I don't think this team is good enough to win with just KD and this move they done. Now, sure, maybe they do other stuff, and who cares, right? From that point, it can change everything. But as is, they do have them as well. Prior to the Celtics trades we just discussed, they had them in the top 5 for odds to win the championship next year. I think that's a little stiff, but either way, it's a good fit for KD. Like I mentioned last time, I think this is his last chance to really show he can be of value and take a team somewhere without depending on somebody else. This is a good kind of like the Kawhi or the Raptors thing where you don't really put your eyes on that team, and kind of like Tom Brady to the Buccaneers, where it's just like, oh, he's going to a terrible team that has a couple of good players. But realistically, if you really look at it, Brady to the Bucs made a lot of sense. He had all the weapons he needed, and for them to compete wasn't shocking. Kawhi to the Raptors, they had a lot of great pieces for them to compete. Wasn't shocking. I think Kevin Durant can kind of be the same thing. I don't know if they're over the top enough to have blown up the project they had currently going, because a lot of the teams, like I mentioned before, Detroit, Orlando, that are trying to make that leap are all right there. They're knocking at the door. They could just use more experience and make the leap. So I don't know. I probably wouldn't have given up Jalen Green myself. Not that I'm in love with the guy, but if you're Phoenix, it's, roster wise, it's a weird thing. But at the end of the day, I'm sure Beal will eventually be gone, and some of those other guys as well. You'll have Booker, you have Jalen Green, you'll have 2 young, pretty solid players in general. They obviously need to diversify and get some bigs and some traditional point guards. But either way, I don't hate the move. I just want to have done it myself.
Yeah, for me, for Houston, it's like, yes, it was a good trade for them because they obviously needed another star there to help out Van Fleet, Sengun, and those other young prospects. Obviously, Steven Adams still there, so he could help out as well. Um, I just, I don't think that they get into the top 4 in the Western Conference. Yes, last season they had a great season and they made it number 2, right? But then they lose to the Golden State Warriors in the first round. And a lot of people, if you really watch basketball, I'm pretty sure a lot of people picked the Golden State Warriors to beat them just because of the lack of experience, right? You bring in someone like Kevin Durant where he has a lot of experience, a lot of games won, a lot of points scored. So he could do something for Houston. But then you're giving up a player, Jalen Green, who was hustling all year, making great plays all year, shooting the 3-point shot as good as anybody all year. Dylan Brooks, who's a great defensive mindset, a great initiator out there just to bring in a fight, which you actually need in a culture. Now you're taking that away. You're giving up the 10th pick in the draft, another talented player that you could probably get, and 5 second-round picks. So not that your whole future is gone, but a lot of your future is gone, right? To bring in someone who is 37 years old, not taking that away from him. Yes, he's old, but he still is a baller. Any team you put him on, he's going to be a baller. But the question is, at the end of the day, you're bringing Kevin Durant in. Are they going to win an NBA championship? For me, it's no, because I still got Denver in front of them. A lot of people are writing off the Dallas Mavericks, but I love the Dallas Mavericks as well when they are healthy. Obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they just won the championship. They're not going anywhere. Minnesota Timberwolves, they're right there too. They're knocking off teams left and right. The Golden State Warriors, yeah, they're at the end of their quote-unquote dynasty. I don't really think they're a dynasty, but a lot of people put them out there like that. They're at the end of it, yes, but they're still making noise in the playoffs. So for me to say that the Rockets are going to go there to the NBA Finals off rip just because they traded for Kevin Durant, no. I think they'll be lucky enough to get out of the second round. They'll get out of the first round. It depends on who they play. But the second round, if you got to face Minnesota, OKC, Denver, Dallas, or even the Lakers, if they put some team together and they get Braun and Luka on the same page, I don't really think the Houston Rockets are going to get out anyway. But a lot
Yeah,
of people
they could
want to
lose the Clippers. You know.
literally. Clippers is
Yeah.
another team. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
Like
like,
I just you gave up too much to take such a small step forward.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, yeah. And for Phoenix, man, I think it's good for them. They got a lot of picks in return. If they're trying to go the route of what most teams are doing now because of the formula that the OKC Thunder have created these past few years. They're going the route of just trying to get young cats and put them together and trying to make do what it does. So I feel like it's good for them. It's good for the Phoenix Suns and what they got in return. I'm hearing that they're going to ship off Jalen Green. If they ship off Jalen Green to get maybe another defensive player in return and some other picks, I think that would be great because you use the 10th pick on a scorer to bring in to help out Devin Booker, keep Devin Booker, keep surrounding around him, and try to do some work. But down the line, I think it's good for them that they made this trade.
Yeah, you cut some space. You keep players worth watching for your fan base, and you're you lost so many draft picks to Houston before, and now you're getting some of that back. You're rebuilding your asset team. So I'm like I said, I'm not thinking Phoenix is trying to make any splash here to win a title or anything, but for business wise, it's a good move.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we'll see what's up with KD. I think it's going to be pretty exciting for him out there in Houston. And then another thing that I wanted to mention about it was he said that he'll take a pay cut so they could try to get some other assets. How do you feel about that? Should he, at 37 years old, worry about him and getting his money, generational money for when he either decides to have kids? At this point, I don't really know if he's going to try to do that. But for his family, for his friends, for whoever he really wants to like help out with that money, or it's good that he's going to take that pay cut to try to win another championship.
I like the pay cut at this point for a guy who's already got like lifetime deals shoe wise, can make money off the court in other ways, is very vocal on social media. I'm not saying that that's making you money, but that shows that he has the ability to at least speak or be outspoken. So he may, you never know. He could be an analyst. He could do other things. I don't think he's just going to hang it up and disappear. So I'm always good with that. If you feel like you can make money elsewhere, then you can leverage that here. You're making more money off the court than on the court for these type of players. So cool. Why not?
Yeah, I think it would be dope for him to take the pay cut and they bring in a dope two guard, a two way, a 3-and-D guard. That'll be pretty sick to
Yeah.
pair up, next to him and Van Fleet and obviously Sengun. Or if not, get at least 2 to 3 bench players that can put up 10 to 15 points.
Yeah, I like Houston. I have no problem with the franchise. I was a huge Hakeem Olajuwon fan when I was a kid, so I'd like to see them be good, especially in the West. So it's irrelevant for me,
Yeah,
but we'll see.
yeah, yeah. Well, last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. The Oklahoma City Thunder have won the NBA championship, 2025 NBA champs, OKC Thunder. First championship in franchise history. Second time that they've been to the NBA Finals. First time they lost to yours truly Miami Heat in 2012. But this series went to Game 7. It was horrible to see what happened to Tyrese Halliburton in that Game 7. He got injured with an Achilles tear in that first quarter. It was super sad to see him down. He was down on the floor crying, which I don't even fault him for that because, dude, man, that injury must really suck. We've seen a lot of those this year. We've seen 3 of them in the playoffs. So there's a lot of another conversation on that on when it comes to injuries and playing how many games in a season and all that stuff. Um, but it looked like the Pacers were having a good game after he went down. They looked like they're collective in that second quarter. And then you and I talked about this off air. That's third quarter. It was just like Rick Carlisle didn't know what to do, didn't know what adjustments to run, didn't know what players to plug in and plug out, didn't know when to keep players like Pascal Siakam in the whole game. In my opinion, should have been in the whole game after Halliburton went down. But there was a lot that transpired this whole NBA Finals, that Game 7, and I just want to hear your thoughts if you got any thoughts on
Yeah, man. I I picked Indiana to beat the Bucks. I picked Indiana to beat Cleveland. I thought they would lose to Boston, but once Boston was eliminated by the Knicks, I picked Indiana to beat the Knicks. And I actually picked Indiana in 7 here. I thought the smart pick obviously would be OKC in 6, like most people thought. But I stuck with the Indiana thing because why not? It's risk free, right? I'm not putting any money on it anyway. But I think it's rough, to see the Halliburton injury because, not only just for regular human nature, but he started off so well. 3 straight threes. He looked aggressive. That's the first time he looked aggressive like that, probably the entire playoffs. And I'm not saying he hasn't been great, but offensively, he's always been passive. He gets that high screen at the 3-point line. He's usually trying to beat the next guy to the hoop to make a pass. He was just pulling and he was hitting and he looked good and he looked confident. And honestly, too early in the game to say anything about it, but just the feel that they had early, I was feeling good about the win. But, stuff happens. It is what it is. That's just part of the game. So neither here nor there, but congrats to OKC. I think that's a team that did it the right way. They've been collecting draft picks. They still have tons of draft picks. Just going young, starting fresh, building this team. Like you said, their first title. I know people are going to say, oh, the Sonics won a title. That's a Seattle team. But Seattle still owns the rights to that city, that team, that whole branding, and they're probably going to get their team back eventually. So this is their first title. They deserved it. Everything SJ did, he deserves it. Jay Will looked good going his left hand. Wasn't great overall all the time, but he had a great series. I like the team. I think I don't know if they're repeat worthy. I'm not saying they can't win it again because they're going to bring it back. But they're definitely going to be a danger next year. There's nothing negative you can really say about OKC. If you're nitpicking, it's just too much. They earned it. They worked hard. I know Aaron Gordon went out in the Denver series, Game 7. I know Halliburton in this game, but still, that's going to happen every single playoff series. You're going to be able to find some injury or some reason to say this is why they won. But congrats to them. They made it interesting. It was the 7th champion in 7 years, first time in NBA history. It was the best rated game, 6 in Game 7 since 2016 or something like that. So as boring as people projected it to be, it really, I guess it wasn't. But no issues with it. I liked everything that went down other than the Halliburton thing.
Yeah, I thought the whole series was a great series for sure, from top to bottom. I mean, that game 1 was just incredible. That game 4 was out of this world. You go down to game 7, in which what at halftime it looked like it could be anybody's game, right? Obviously, Tyrese Halliburton went down in the first quarter, so you thought things were going to turn around quickly and dramatically towards OKC Thunder, but it didn't happen as that. The third quarter is where OKC was like, yo, we're going to take off here. And if Indiana can't keep up, they're just going to get left behind. And that's what initially had happened. For the people out there that keep saying that this championship for OKC has an asterisk behind it, is, dude, you guys really need to wake up and realize what transpired from game 1 of the NBA regular season to game 7 of the NBA finals. OKC has been the best team all year long, offensively and defensively. Yeah, there's been times that other teams have been better offensively and other teams have been better defensively. But overall, if you really put it together from game 1 to game 7, they have been the best team all season long. Throughout the playoffs, yes, they faced teams that had injuries, but every single team has players that are hurt. If you're in the NBA playoffs, you have players on your team that are hurt. It's a long season. When you get to that point, that time of year, some players are going to be more hurt than others. That's why a lot of people say the team that has the healthiest team really makes it to the NBA finals. And it's true. I mean, it ends up happening like that every single year. If you watch NBA playoffs, you watch the conference finals, you watch the NBA finals, there's the team that always wins is the team that is the most healthiest and the best defensive team. No doubt. So, like, for you guys that keep saying this asterisk on Thunder shouldn't have really won this NBA finals, it doesn't really count and this and that. Like, y'all really need to shut up, man, and go sit down somewhere. Honestly.
Yeah. The only asterisk championship I will ever put on is literally the Lakers bubble championship. It's not even just being a Laker hater, which I am, but it's just life was different, right? A lot of people didn't even want to be there. They weren't even trying to show up. And I know you say, oh, well, it takes that extra level to focus. And it's like, if I go to the park, need you and a couple scrubs, beat Team USA basketball because they don't care. I'm not going to brag about it. Like, we know they didn't care. So it matters, right? But like at the end of the day, you still got it done. You still win. I hear that. Even Caruso mentioned that. Like, he got one that counts because he knows that even that one was a little But to say that OKC didn't earn it, as if Halliburton got hurt on the first play of game one, like, come on. Like, this is game 7. He got hurt.
Yeah,
Yes.
like,
It was, like, I did think they looked good and they started well, but they've looked good and started well in other games and did not win those games. In fact, they've lost some of those games. They started well by over 20 points. So,
yeah,
it's ridiculous. They earned it. They won. Celtics, I had to do the same thing when the Celtics had their run, last year or whatever. Oh, well, this guy got hurt. Halliburton got hurt, for the Pacers and, whatever. But like you said, there's not many teams that are the best team in the league that go on to win the title. They usually
yeah,
burn out or they're kind of frauds throughout and they're overworking to win regular season games where other teams are just trying to build a dynamic and then they fizzle in the playoffs when you get into half court. This team was number 1 all year and it showed in the playoffs. There's nothing else. That's it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like if you're hating on that, then you're going to hate on every single champion that's ever been listed.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up, I saw a rumor today that OKC is trying to trade up into the top 10 pick of the NBA draft.
They're
How
trying to avoid
crazy
paying
would that?
anybody.
How crazy
Really.
would that be? Winning an NBA
Well,
Finals and then being in the top 10.
hey, that's like the Celtics. We were in the finals and that happened. Remember? Yeah, we had like the top 3 pick the next year, but it's crazy because they're just so young and they're still able to do it. So well run, right? Sam Presti, GM of the year, he deserves it. Obviously, that's why. Um, Side note: did you see Jokic was on the fake trading block?
Yeah, and talking about the whole second apron thing that you had mentioned a little while ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. They're like, oh, Denver could move Jokic. I don't care about the money situation. I wouldn't trade Jokic.
No, no, no. That's another thing I wanted to ask you too. I know we really didn't put it on here to talk about, but the CBA, like th- there needs to be changes, right? Like there needs to be changes in it because, like, dude, like the way that stuff is going on now, like with all these like contract extensions and stuff like that, yes, it's dope to see for sure players securing their future and like just in case they get injured and stuff like that. But I do kind of miss NBA free agency. And I feel like NBA free agency has gone out the window ever since Kevin Durant went to the Golden State Warriors. After that season, it's gone kaput. And I feel like that is one reason why a lot of people love NBA offseason is for the trades and the free agency. And now one aspect of it has been gone for what 9 years now, 8 years now, and it's like, dude, like, are we ever gonna get that back?
When does that current agreement end?
I think it's next season. I think it's next season. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because now the NBA has been showing success with this formula in terms of balance, and a lot of teams, like, having a chance to actually win going in this Indiana thing. I know they didn't win, but still,
Yeah.
like, you know, now it's just get into the playoffs, and you never know. As long as you can make it into that top 6, you can probably be a contender because there is so much balance, and there isn't. The league's not dominated by one player or 2 players like it was before, especially since those 2 players will be on the same team. Um,
Yeah.
it's just, where does that start? Like, what would change in order to allow it to get back to that way? Because who's going to argue for it since this has been so successful? Not to say like my thoughts or anything, just in terms of Adam Silver and how he feels.
Yeah. No, no, I get what you're saying. And like for me to clarify, like I don't want it to go. I think it's better the way it is now when, 7 different champions in 7 different years, the NBA is way more balanced. But I do want to see signings happen. Like it
Yeah.
should be like a middle ground. It shouldn't be like, okay, big market teams, they have a lot of money and they can sign in whoever they want. No, I don't think it should be like that either. But I do want to see players sign somewhere like, oh my God, a random, oh man, this guy signed with this team. And like, oh damn, I thought he was gonna sign with that team. Like now you don't see that because of contract extensions. So all you really see is either trades or signing trades.
Yeah, they just want people to stay where they are. It's like, I get that, but it's in the 100 years of NBA that hasn't caused parity. That hasn't made things happen. That's just people have stayed there and they've continued to be an average team. And the same teams continue to win. That's why you had so many champions at the same time. Like this team won 6 titles in the 10 years, right? And things like that. 3 titles in your dynasty. Uh, I think essentially, till we get a team that drafts a dynasty of their own through that, like just through the draft, kind of like what OKC is doing right now, and wins 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4 or something like that. Uh, that'll be probably the only thing that's going to cause them to relook at that. I think the NBA likes what's going on right
Last
now. But I
thing,
hear you. I hear you on that.
yeah. Last thing I saw, breaking news: Kyrie Irving declining 43 million player option and intends to sign 3-year, $119 million contract with the Mavs. So 43 million he would have made um, this upcoming season. He will decline to sign 3 years, 119. So that would be he'll be making more money if he signs that 3 years. Correct?
Well, 119, it'd be like 40 a year if it's even now. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. So he'll be taking a little bit less.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
he
more
just
long
wants
term.
exactly. He want the long term. I mean, after him getting that injury, so maybe it is smarter for him to do what he's about to do for sure. You want to have that
Plus, remember,
security blanket.
they just added that pay to Gafford as well, the extension there. So it's probably one of those things where like, hey, we're going to pay Gafford. Can we renegotiate you? You'll make more long term in terms of, the security that you may feel you need. Sacrifice a little bit this year, but now we can do this and maybe add somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely you want to keep Gafford. I mean,
Yeah, you have to
even
keep
though
it. You have to.
even though you got AD, you got Gafford and Lively, right? Do you think it would work with those 3 towers, or you think it would be better to shift off? Obviously, you're not going to ship off Anthony Davis, and if you're trying to keep Gafford, obviously you're not going to ship him off. So you would ship off Lively. Would it be smart to ship him off?
Um, I'll say no, only because I can't see what's available to make it worth shipping him off. Like you said before about the Jalen Green thing, like if you're going to get rid of Jalen Green, you're getting rid of Jalen Green to get equal or more value, but at a different position, right?
Yeah,
So if you're going to get rid of Lively because you want a little more balance, and you already have Anthony Davis, you already have Gafford, kind of not the same positions, but they kind of do the
and
same
Cooper
things.
Flag.
Oh yeah, and Cooper Flag, right? Another guy that he's not a defensive guy, but still he's a bigger dude right down the court. You don't want a whole lineup of freaking seven,
Big
eight
guys.
wingspans. Yeah, yeah. But what's available? Like, what are you going to get out of it? Like if you're telling me that they can get a go-to traditional shooting guard, like I'm not saying Kyle Korver types or anything like that, but you can get a two that's gonna be equal value, then sure. If they could have got somebody like Jrue Holiday for it, not him, but somebody a little younger, somebody who can bring a veteran presence and help out, especially with Kyrie and AD always banged up. So when they go out, you still kind of run the same system, then sure. But right now, I can't think of anybody that's obviously available. That'll make sense. But maybe Castle on the Spurs. I know he's not available, but I think for somebody like him, maybe he would be. Um, Something like that. But they don't even need that either. So yeah.
No. I saw a rumor that Mavs are going to try to go for CP3. I don't know how you would feel about that with him, Kyrie, Flag, AD.
Free. You're not going to spend no money on him. You're
Yeah,
going to spend him like
it'll
better
be a better
minimum.
minimum. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So why not? I mean, it's a guy who pass first, plays the game right, shoots the mid ranger, which is they kind of need that balance, like you just mentioned. So
hmm
he's an alley oop floater kind of guy. Like I would do it at this price. Why not? I'll take him on almost any team. Maybe not
yeah,
Boston because it
literally.
slows down a little too much, but a team like that, why not?
Yeah, definitely. I'll take him in Miami. Shit, baby. We need that playmaking. We need someone on the
You're
floor
not
general.
getting you're not getting anything in Miami. Okay,
Yeah,
you're
no,
gonna stay with
no.
the same team, run it
Oh,
back.
they're gonna get me. They're gonna get me.
Yeah,
Sign me
there you
with
go. Yeah,
it.
why not? You guys could use the shooting, right?
Oh man, well yeah, I appreciate your time, brother. A lot of trades that have happened today. I feel like more trades are gonna happen either in the next few hours going into the NBA draft. I know we didn't talk about the draft that much. We'll talk about a little bit more next week on what exactly transpired. But yeah, man, before we get out of here, let these people know where they can view your stuff and listen to you, my boy.
Hey, sounds good. At RealCLKid, RealCKid. Pretty much every single platform there is. Rap, produce, podcast as well. So great times here as always. Love the G perspective. Love my dog. Yeah. Sorry that the Heat are not participating in anything, and that my team is doing everything.
No, you're not.
You had your chance. Well, really quick, you want Pat Riley or no?
Say it again.
I said really quick. I just want to ask you. You can just be yes or no. You want to get rid of Pat Riley or no?
Yeah, at this point, yeah. That's it. It's already done. That's it. It's already done. I can't keep giving him more chances. I've been defending him the last 4 or 5 years. Like, he's just trying to develop the young talent. He's trying to look at them and get them going and this and that. And I get it. I understand. You want the young talent to do work, but bro, like, rumors out there that he didn't want to give up Kel Ware or Jovic, and even Hayward Highsmith in some rumors that I read, but most of them have been Ware and Jovic, and it's just like, yeah, maybe Ware does turn out to be a great double machine that can shoot the 3 ball and block every single shot out there on the floor. Maybe Jovic can be a great point forward and shoot the 3 ball and try to create for his players out there. But, we're in the mindset of trying to win now every single year. If we're waiting for develop all these guys together, they're not going to be on the same path as Bam and Hero. Might as well bring in Kevin Durant, who's going to give Hero and Bam some more knowledge, some more scoring opportunities, some more defensive outputs maybe, and try to do something with him. But nah, we want to focus on what our young talent can bring us in the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No.
My answer is I just wanted to hear it.
Huh?
I figured you'd say it. I just wanted to hear it.
Guys, you know where you can follow me on Twitter, X, at George Mike Perez, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at GMike Media _. The audio version of this podcast is available on all podcast platforms. The video on YouTube. And if you guys are into sports gambling, I run a Telegram channel where we charge $10 a month to get everyone from winnings from $25 to $50 to $100 a day. You'll see the link pop up on the screen. If not, just hit me up on one of my socials. Slide in my DM. We'll start a conversation to get you on and popping. See ya. We balling tomorrow or what?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right. I'll see you out there, my boy. And thank you again, bro.